Okay, welcome back for another video. Guys, we're almost to the end of the novel, and we left off with Boo Radley carrying Jem back to the house. And Scout, her kind of perspective is all muddled up during that whole attack scene because she's in a costume for a Halloween party and can't see very clearly the whole time. If you watch the old black and white movie, her costume looks really funny, actually. She looks like a walking ham. And so Boo Radley carries Jem back home to the Finch's house, and the sheriff shows up. Scout goes back, and what do you got here? What is it, heck? Says Atticus. Mr. Tate found his neck and rubbed it. Bob Ewell's lying on the ground under that tree down yonder, with a kitchen knife stuck up under his ribs. He's dead, Mr. Finch. So we have the death of Bob Ewell, okay? And remember, who was Bob Ewell connected with back in the previous chapters symbolically, right? He was the mad dog with the disease. And what's his disease? Well, racism and all the other nasty prejudice and abuse and all of that. He's crazy, right? Mad dog. He's even now attacked and tried to kill children. So we have our monster. We have our true gothic monster here, attacking on a dark Halloween night, right? Attacking little children, no less. But somebody has killed him. There is someone who was a defender of the kids, a hero. Now, in traditional Gothic, it'd be, the damsel in distress, somebody who was supposedly powerless and weak, and, a knight in shining armor would show up. Maybe slay the dragon or something. Well, we've got a monster, we've got a hero. And Bob Ewell is dead. Now, this is going to set up connecting problems, okay? We're going to have a legal dilemma. And not just legal, but moral. Because the law, is the law able to bring true justice? Is the question hanging over Atticus's head now. The legal system failed. Tom Robinson had no hope in the legal system, and so he ran knowing he's going to get killed. And now we've got a situation where two children have been involved in a violent incident, and somebody's dead. So, who killed him? Who killed Bob Ewell? So, everybody's at the house, and they're dealing with getting the whole story out from Scout as much as she can remember and what she heard. Jem is passed out, unconscious, lying down, sleeping, and Atticus and the sheriff, Tate, are talking about everything. And so Scout is recalling the story here Then all of a sudden something grabbed me and smashed my costume. Think I ducked on the ground. Heard a tussling under the tree, sort of. They were bamming against the trunk, sounded like. Jem found me and started pulling me toward the road. Some Mr. Ewell yanked him down, I reckon. They tussled some more, and then there was this funny noise. Jem hollered. I stopped. That was Jem's arm. So the funny crunching, dull sound was Jem's arm being broken. And so what do you have? This reveals what was at the very beginning of the novel, right? The very first page of the novel was, how was Jem's arm broken? How was it broken? By a racist, crazy monster. So who is the real Gothic monster in Maycomb? Well, it's racist and racism. That's what the brokenness of society that Gothic likes to point out, why things are broken. So the brokenness of society also connected to racism damaged Tom Robinson's arm and hand and so on. So there's a dehumanizing factor here, right? Becoming less human, your body not working totally the way that it should, and so on. Anyway, Jem hollered and I didn't hear him anymore, and next thing, Mr. Ewell was trying to squeeze me to death, I reckon. Then somebody yanked Mr. Ewell down. Jem must have got up, I guess, that's all I know. So not just Jem, but Scout, a young little girl, is trying to be killed. And then Mr. Tate was looking at me sharply. Somebody was staggering around and panting and coughing, fit to die. I thought it was Jem at first, but it didn't sound like him, so I went looking for Jem on the ground. I thought Atticus had come to help us and had got wore out. Who was it? Why, there he is, Mr. Tate. He can tell you his name. As I said it, I half pointed to the man in the corner, but brought my arm down quickly, lest Atticus reprimand me for pointing. It was impolite to point. He was still leaning against the wall. He had been leaning against the wall when I came into the room, his arms folded across his chest. As I pointed, he brought his arms down and pressed the palms of his hands against the wall. They were white hands, sickly white hands that had never seen the sun, so white they stood out garishly against the dull cream wall in the dim light of Jem's room. I looked from his hands to his sand-stained khaki pants, and my eyes traveled up to his thin frame, to his torn denim shirt. His face was as white as his hands, but for a shadow on his jutting chin. His cheeks were thin to hollowness. His mouth was wide. There were shallow, almost delicate indentations at his temples, and his gray eyes were so colorless I thought he was blind. His hair was dead and thin, almost feathery on top of his head. When I pointed to him, his palms slipped slightly, leaving greasy sweat streaks on the wall, and he hooked his thumbs in his belt. A strange spasm shook him, as if he heard fingernails scrape slate. But as I gazed at him in wonder, the tension slowly drained from his face. His lips parted into a timid smile, and our neighbor's image blurred with my sudden tears. "Hey, Boo," I said. So, this is...
What did you say?
My clock is talking to me. It thought I said, "Hey, Google," so...
6 p.m. It's for 3 hours, 17 minutes, and 37 seconds. Starting now.
Anyway, so this is the revealing of Boo Radley. So Boo Radley came out, right? He came out to bring out the blanket. He came out to drop Jem's pants. He came out to save Scout and Jem. So here is the moment of recognition. Okay, there's finally recognition. How did Scout know this was Boo Radley if she's never seen him before? But somehow she knows. This moment of recognition is very important for her maturity. So she finally sees Boo Radley as a human. Now, notice his behavior. What's going on with him? Why is he having a little bit of strange anxiety? Okay, so notice his palms are really sweaty, and he has this strange small spasm, as if he heard something happening, and then he becomes more calm. The tension drains from his face. So what is wrong with Boo Radley? What's his issue? Why is he having an anxiety attack? A small one. He's having an anxiety attack. He's super nervous. Yet he was still able to fight off, the crazy, drunken, alcoholic monster to save the children. Okay? So what does this mean? Boo Radley, he overcame his actually mental illness to self-sacrificially love the children. To love Jem and Scout. He doesn't come out of his house because he's mentally ill. He has some kind of anxiety problems. He has some kind of nervous problem. But despite that, he was able to overcome that and actually put his life, he risked his life to save them. Right? It was a very dangerous situation. Now, think back to Boo Radley's backstory. It involved stabbing someone with scissors. Remember that? Supposedly he stabbed his dad in the leg with scissors. Well, why would he do that? Does his dad seem like a nice guy? Maybe Boo Radley has been abused. Maybe that's why he's mentally ill. Maybe something's happened to him. Okay? So it's very complicated, but we have an outcast hero, which is a key Gothic kind of element. He's the outcast and the crazy one. And the mad one is the hero. You have this kind of crazy, but this is different. The one who would be weak and mentally ill actually becomes strong and saves the day. And so Scout finally recognizes him, finally sees Boo Radley's face. Okay? He's not a ghost, but he was the foreshadowed ghost that everybody said, watch out for ghosts tonight on Halloween night. But this ghost became the hero.